clears televangelist Ezekiel Odero of allegations of operating a morgue and a cemetery. Pitching in China. President Ruto urges Chinese investors to consider setting up value addition enterprises in Kenya. Former Devolution Principal Secretary Peter Mangiti off the hook in the 1 billion shilling National Youth Service scandal. Brian Muraro is in charge of our sign language docket. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. President William Ruto has urged Chinese investors to exploit existing opportunities in Kenya in the energy, water, and housing sectors. The president, who is in China for a 3-day working tour, says that Kenya will support foreign investors who can engage in the value addition of the country's abundant raw materials. Give us on Maina with that report.
President William Ruto on Monday made an extensive tour of China's Engineering Corporation Limited in Beijing, China. The president, who is in China in an official tour, urged Chinese investors to partner with the Kenyan government in areas of energy, water and infrastructure.
We want to persuade you and your company to look at the possibilities of working with us as the government of Kenya to unlock the opportunities for this energy as part of enhancing the energy pool in not just Kenya, but in our region.
During the tour, President Ruto witnessed the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum and Energy China.
And my coming to China this time round is a confirmation of our commitment to elevate this relationship for the mutual benefit of Kenya and China.
The MOU entails optimizing flexibility and reliability of the electrical power system, planning, designing, transformation and modernization of power generation, transmission lines, distribution lines, and substations.
I am very happy that you have technologies that can work with us to leverage on our renewable energy assets, both in geothermal. We have between 10 and 20 gigawatts of geothermal energy potential.
The head of state also toured Huawei offices and revealed that Kenya will partner with the leading Chinese technology corporation, saying it will advance Kenya's ICT infrastructure and drive digitization across key sectors, including transportation, e-government, education, and health.
We are excited as Kenyans that we have this partnership that will make it possible for companies like Safaricom, our Concert Technopolis, and many others in that space that use technology to drive our development into the future.
Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is tonight reaffirming the government's commitment to actualizing universal health coverage across the country. Gachagua revealed that about 18 billion shillings have been set aside to ensure the program is successfully rolled out. The Deputy President spoke at the onset of the Universal Health Coverage Conference in Kericho County. The conference is one of the side activities in the build-up to this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations to be held in that county of Kericho.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has revealed that the government will progressively increase budgetary allocation to the health ministry in line with the Maputo Declaration, as the government seeks to ensure successful implementation and actualization of the universal health coverage across the country.
Closely working with counties in establishing sustainable structures of promoting preventive health as envisioned under the universal health coverage. In this regard, we have allocated 141.2 billion Kenya shillings to the Ministry of Health with at least 18.4 billion shillings going into the universal health coverage.
Gachagua said that without accessible and affordable healthcare in the country, the realization of the universal healthcare shall remain a pipe dream.
Distinguished guests, on this note, I wish to commend the health community, the community health promoters who have been engaged for this assignment. You are our heroes. This is Mashujaa Day. We can't pay you enough for the splendid work you are already undertaking. Once again, we count on your utmost dedication to deliver to Kenyans the promise of universal health coverage.
We want to ensure that if a Kenyan walks into a facility, hataambiwa nunua panado pale nje, atapewa kwa sababu iko kwa facility.
The Deputy President spoke at the onset of the Universal Health Coverage Conference in Kericho County. The conference is one of the build-up activities ahead of the Mashujaa Day celebrations in Kericho County. DP Gachagua and Health Cabinet Secretary Nakumicha Wafula also visited a household in Kericho County for a demonstration of service delivery and the use of electronic community health information. The system will ensure collection of health-related data at the very basic level of the community.
It is also a great occasion to witness the potential of the Kericho County Smart Primary Healthcare Network, which is envisioned to transform healthcare service delivery through digitization of data.
That we have begun at the bottom, which is the essence of this government, bottom up. The community health promoter has a gadget, and I want to thank our partners, Safaricom. They have been able to support us on that. And Your Excellency, the best thing about those gadgets is that they're locally assembled. Hatujaleta kutoka mahali pengine, ni za hapa Kenya.
Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kericho County.
Now, the incoming Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has reiterated his commitment to transform the public service sector, pledging to rid it of lethargy. Speaking when he officially took over the State Department of Public Service from outgoing Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumwa, Kuria said that he's ready to leave the Railways Headquarters Office for Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi and to work from the Harambee House Office. Aisha Jumwa has moved to the Ministry of Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage.
People are not going even one extra mile to work for these people, for the great people of this country. And being in public service is a very big privilege and honor that needs to be reciprocated by people who are enjoying that privilege.
We have also developed a unified human resource information to ensure that public service human resource and payroll data is consolidated. We have established the Training Revolving Fund, which provide funds to officers who wish to sponsor themselves under personal development.
Now, the Senate's ad hoc committee on the proliferation of religious organizations has cleared the New Life Prayer Center and church televangelist Ezekiel Odero against allegations of operating a morgue in a cemetery at his Mavueni property. Committee Chair Danson Mungatana says that there is absolutely no proof of the claims. Here's that report.
Mid-morning Monday, and the ad hoc Senate committee began the tour of the New Life Prayer Center and church property on their fact-finding mission. Following the allegations that the church premises hosted a morgue, the ad hoc Senate committee chairman dismissed the claims after finding out that the supposed morgue was the church power control room.
So tumekuja, tumeambiwa kuna mochari, twende tukaangalie hiyo mochari. Kuna makaburi, twende tukaangalie makaburi. Tunataka kujua uhusiano na huyu ambaye tunamshuku ni namna gani, na tumeona hapa hata restaurant. Kwa hivyo mambo yale mengine tulikuwa tuambia watu waombe paka wafe hayapo hapa.
Kwa hivyo yote ambayo wameangalia na wamechunguza watayaweka wazi kwa nchi nzima, kwa raia nzima, kwa raia wote, kila mmoja akaweze kujua ukweli.
Televangelist Ezekiel Odero distanced himself from Pastor Paul Mackenzie linked with the Shakahola massacre. Mungatana disclosed that they expect Mackenzie's lawyer to appear before the committee on Tuesday.
Alisema kwamba wamepata zile summons, kwa hivyo wanajipanga. So sisi kesho tutangojea saa 4. Alafu tuna imani ya kwamba watapata nafasi wafike. Wasipofika, sheria ya Senate pia iko na namna ambavyo ina deal na watu ambao wamepata summons na hawaja respond kwa hizo summons.
The committee is expected to release its report on Thursday this week. For Prime Edition from Kilifi County, I am Ann Mburu.
Of course, that's a story that has been making waves in the headlines lately, and we will be following it to its logical conclusion. Farmers in Makueni County joined in celebrating World Food Day and was sensitized by agriculturalists on combating hunger and enhancing accessibility to nourishing food. During the celebration, the farmers were urged to diversify the food production and focus on cultivating dryland crops. They were further sensitized on value addition and creating markets for their produce. Here's that report.
In the semi-arid region of Makueni County, these crops flourish despite the harsh weather. Over 20 types of millet, among them sorghum, finger millet, short millet, palm millet, foxtail millet, and pigeon peas, have braved water scarcity. These grains, with a little value addition, turn into a variety of edible products. The essence of this transformation aptly resonated with this year's World Food Day. Farmers gathered here were sensitized on adoption of dryland crops in arid regions.
Farmers are able to diversify their food production, not just one crop. So they have options for sorghum, millet crops like you're seeing here. It's very dry, but they are able to harvest. We have other crops like grain legumes, pigeon peas, groundnuts. Again, very resilient to droughts. Farmers, they can still feed their families and get the excess production to markets.
In scaling up Africa's food production, the youth have to be onboarded.
The population of Africa is 60% young people. And these are the people that are going to move Africa's food production. And so crops like this, we don't need just to bring productivity that brings just food at a household level. We need to create business.
Planting crop varieties that are suitable to specific regions and using appropriate technology is also key.
We just need to grow the right crops in the correct agroecological zones. You know, so follow what we recommend. When we say these varieties do well in these areas, then plant those varieties in those areas. Don't mix them. Because otherwise, yes, you'll get a yield, but it will not be optimal yield. So we also want our people to diversify the foods they eat.
It is a success story that Esther Waihita, a millet farmer, has reaped big from. Her prowess in dryland crops has seen her venture into hotel business and employ 8 youth to sell her value-added produce, such as millet cakes and cookies.
We can harvest larger volumes unlike maize and like beans, and by so doing I came up with an idea or rather a business plan, and I am able to man a hotel whereby we do value addition to the millets, and we get some recipes in my hotel, and I thank God because I've also created employment.
With such climate-resilient initiatives and value addition, the market has expanded to inspire millet farmers to increase production. As we mark World Food Day, experts have insisted that there is a need of employing different technologies that increase food production. For Prime Edition from Makueni County, I am Teresa Mutai.
From Makueni to Parliament here in Nairobi, Kenya, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has challenged Eastern African parliamentarians to formulate effective policies that will promote value addition and post-harvest processes to make the region food secure. Speaking while opening the 5th Parliamentary Dialogue and General Assembly meeting of the Eastern Parliamentary Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition, Speaker Wetangula called for a holistic approach to food security, including enhancing budgetary allocation on crop production. The regional meeting, in partnership with the Food and Agriculture Organization, is focusing on fostering linkages between climate action and food systems information.
Not threats of any nature. They'll buy more weapons, buy tanks, than buy tractors and rudimentary implements for food production. Ask yourselves why, when Ukraine, which is smaller than Tanzania, is disturbed, the whole world goes hungry. Let's have an achievement of food security because you, as members of parliament, are proactive and deliberately budgeting for food production, food processing, value addition, post-harvest management, and above all, food exports to earn foreign exchange for our countries to develop.
That story brings us to our first break here on Prime Edition. Coming up, we dive deeper into tonight's coverage. Stay with us.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023.
I mean, I'm very sure mmejipanga sawa.
Ai, kwani ni nini na nyinyi? Mbona mnaingia room ya madem?
Sisi ni maafisa wa polisi.
So,
Leo Faza. Uko chini ya ulinzi na unahitajika kuandamana nasi hadi kituoni.
Kwa nimefanya nini sasa? Nafsi yako itakuwa jibu na hilo walijua.
Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasabi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aligojeka kwa muda.
Wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Are you insane, Olga? What are you playing at? You haven't interested me in a long time.
Ask your husband where he was this morning. I'm not crazy! I demand that you release me! Can't you understand?
What I have to tell you goes beyond just my feelings. It's something that I should have told you a long time ago. You have no idea how I regret not telling you before. Anibal and Olga were indeed lovers. He's the one who's lying, not her.
How long have you known this?
I found out soon after you both arrived in San Juan.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1. Now, the first batch of Kenyatta University medical students reported to KU Teaching Research and Referral Hospital, ending months of bad blood between two sister institutions. It was a handshake moment for the management of the two entities during the occasion, supervised by Higher Education Principal Secretary Beatrice Inyangala.
The newfound cooperation between Kenyatta University and its sister entity, KU Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital, will see the first cohort of 100 students out of 800 medical students at the university enhance their training with access to the hospital's state-of-the-art teaching facilities.
Kenyatta University has about 800 students taking various medical courses, and 100 have been approved to access, but it doesn't mean that this number is static. It just means that the rotations will be organized such that at any one point, not more than 100 students are accessing the spaces and the facilities for education purposes.
And the students will get an opportunity to experience them and to be the best doctors, in Africa and even internationally. So we are excited, and we'll give the support to the students and to the lecturers, both from KU and from here, to work together as a team to make sure that doctors have the best experience and become, the best doctors, best consultants.
The hospital boasts of cutting-edge equipment such as the CyberKnife, SPECT CT, PET CT, and brachytherapy machines. The government's intervention in the tiff between the two institutions has laid ground for officials from the education and health ministries to collaborate in enhancing the medical training program.
This is a vision we had in KU, the construction of the hospital, the operationalizing of the hospital, and now that the students are able to come. Not just KU students, of course, our KU students will get priority, but we also give a chance to other students, because the hospital is very specialized. So we are looking forward. The students, you can see, are very excited. We are all happy that this has been resolved.
The students, accompanied by their lecturers and Vice Chancellor Professor Paul Wainaina, hailed the Parliamentary Committee on Education for intervening to end the dispute following their petition.
It is really a privilege for me to see the great teachers, to see our students and our professors and people who are working in the hospital working together to produce that doctor that we want to produce.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Now, this one has been in the headlines for a long time. Former Devolution Principal Secretary Peter Mangiti is now off the hook in the over 1 billion shillings National Youth Service scandal. Mangiti and 17 others were acquitted Monday evening by Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Wendy Mushene, who stated that the prosecution failed to adduce sufficient evidence to warrant their conviction. However, the court found that 7 out of the 26 persons initially implicated have a case to answer in the first scandal that hit the NYS in 2014. Ruth Mboya with the details in the Scales of Justice segment.
As well as count 10.
It was a good Monday for former Devolution PS Peter Mangiti and 17 others implicated in the 1 billion shillings National Youth Service scandal. Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Wendy Mushene, while delivering the judgment, said it was unfortunate that the prosecution took too long to investigate the first 3 accused persons.
Some may have been guilty, but the evidence was not strong enough. And always the burden of proof in criminal cases is that of the burden is upon the state and not for the accused person to come and explain themselves. And the standard has been and will always remain beyond reasonable doubt.
The court directed that Mangiti and the 17 co-accused be refunded their cash bail and securities deposited. The judgment by the Anti-Corruption Court comes a year after the High Court overturned a decision to acquit the accused, citing overwhelming evidence that they participated in the conspiracy to steal public funds.
And these documents had already been signed by the AIE holder or the person in charge of the procurement whom are found culpable.
Elsewhere, Baragwi member of the Kirinyaga County Assembly, David Mathenge, has been released on a cash bail by the Kerigoya law courts after he was charged with malicious damage of county government property worth 500,000 Kenya shillings. Appearing before Magistrate Claire Wanyama at the Kerigoya law courts, Mathenge pleaded not guilty.
Baragwi one have conferred upon you. We so beseech you, Lord, and you especially so submit.
Mathenge was also accused of opening an illegal borehole in Kanyekini ward in Kirinyaga Central constituency and was released on a 200,000 Kenya shillings and a surety of the same amount. And two women accused of defrauding high prominent people, including a Belgian ambassador, of 4.4 million shillings will be detained at Gigiri police station for 7 days pending the completion of investigations. The two online fraudsters Belinda Chepkemboi and Yvonne Chepkurui were arraigned at Milimani Law Court, where senior principal magistrate Bernard Ochoi ruled that the investigating officers had given sufficient evidence to support the application to have the two detained.
We allowed the application by the investigating officer for a period of 7 working days custodial orders pending the conclusion of the investigations.
Well, as the world grapples with the processing ecological challenges, conservationists have urged the youth to have a sense of responsibility and awareness in environment conservation. They note that introducing such concepts at a tender age will help young people rather develop a very strong sense of awareness and also to appreciate the nature.
According to United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, Kenya's Children's Climate Risk Index score stands at 6.3, indicating a high risk of environmental shocks and child vulnerability.
We believe it's only through conservation education that we can be able to influence the mindset of the young people to help them change their attitudes and their perception towards the way they relate with the environment.
Through an ecological tour program, the Giraffe Center, in collaboration with the Kenya Wildlife Service, has been championing conservation education for youths. Lessons center around sustainable development, preventing biodiversity loss and restoring habitats for wildlife in terrestrial and marine ecosystems.
Also, to be able to learn about practical aspects in which they can be able to implement projects which are geared towards sustaining their local environment within the area where they are coming from.
The program mainly targets institutions from economically deprived regions where learners rarely have the opportunity to experience nature at its finest.
We have some of the students who want to work in the wildlife area. So the moment they come here, they feel motivated because these are things they can see, they can experience.
We live just next to Safari Walk, but we don't have that opportunity to come because we are not educated about this. I wanted to be a news anchor, and now I have changed my ways, only not being in a news anchoring position, but I'll be out in the field looking for the information.
Nitaweza kuwaeleza wenzangu na kuongea nao ya kuwa si vizuri ya kwamba tuwaue wanyamapori hao ambao hawana hatia.
Through the program, the two organizations hope to shed light on the crucial steps being taken to empower children to actively engage on climate issues and the integral role of wildlife conservation and biodiversity protection. Protecting our wildlife still remains the top mandate. That is why we need to educate our young ones on the need for conservation of our wild species. Reporting for KBC Channel 1, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
Police in Githongori constituency, that's in Kiambu County, are investigating the death of a businessman from Kibishoi area whose body was found near a coffee factory in that region. According to the son of the deceased, his father may have been murdered elsewhere and his body dumped where it was discovered. This and more in our county news roundup.
The family of John Kiriba Nganga says it is saddened by the untimely death of their father, calling on the police to expedite the probe into his murder.
I was called by my mom. Then she told me that something had happened to my father. Then I went to my mom to find out what really transpired regarding this issue.
Elsewhere, anti-FGM crusaders in Migori County have tipped the newly renovated law court in Kehancha to tilt the war on the vice in the region.
We felt very strongly about this project. We wanted to invest in a safe and welcoming place for these children to be able to testify against those who are harming them. We're against defilement, FGM, gender-based violence, and early marriage. And so we wanted to have a place where these girls and young men could come and testify in a warm and inviting place.
Meanwhile, Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Nomolo has called for the sensitization of the public to enable them pinpoint instances of construction failing to avert disasters.
We need to understand as a country why this is important, so that it becomes a voluntary thing. It doesn't become an avenue for corruption or an avenue for people wanting to cut corners.
In Meru County, the proposal to censure Governor Kawira Mwangaza appears to have divided the Njuri Cheke right down the middle.
Hiyo mambo wanasema ya impeachment, kama wamefanya impeachment kwa deputy, kwa hivyo wao wenyewe wanajua impeachment ikitokea na Kawira aende nyumbani, gavana deputy ndiye atakuwa gavana. Sasa hatujafika hapo. Mbona wanaweka yeye ni gavana na bado ni deputy?
Finally, Kakamega member of the National Assembly, Elsie Mohanda, has called for political tolerance in the country.
Saa hii mimi naona mumevuna mahindi. Unajua sio siku za zamani ulikuwa unapika mingi unatupa ingine, hapana. Tumesema tufanye nini? Tufunge kamba ni kubaya.
The lawmaker argued that the country must find ways of dealing with pressing national issues and avoid engaging in political sideshows. For Prime Edition, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
Wairimo Njenga is preparing to bring us the day sports. But first, let's look at the cabinet where Ambassador Mohamed Abdi Mohamud has been at the center of Wajir in national politics for decades now, championing the interests of arid and semi-arid land. The former teacher was a trusted President Mwai Kibaki's ally in the northern Kenya, and was also actively involved in Kibaki's re-election, if you remember, in 2007. Here is our focus tonight on the cabinet.
Former Wajir Governor, Ambassador Mohamed Abdi Mohamud, is one of the lucky ministers to have served in both the KANU and NAC regimes. The former teacher is credited with changing the fortunes of Wajir when he served as an MP, assistant minister, and later on a cabinet minister. Mohamed Abdi Mohamud was a school teacher when he ventured into politics and won the Wajir East parliamentary seat in the 1997 polls on a KANU ticket. He became the 6th KANU MP for Wajir West following the win, and the then President Daniel Moi would appoint Mahmoud as an assistant minister in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and later on in the same capacity in the Ministry of Transport and Communication. After the 2003 election, when KANU was ousted from power by the National Rainbow Coalition NAC, Mahmoud was one of the leaders from the pastoralist community who retained their seats on the party's ticket. He would later on find his way to cabinet again when he was appointed the Minister for Regional Development, becoming the first chief of the newly created ministry by President Mwai Kibaki. Mahmoud faced numerous challenges in the new ministry, including funding, but he spearheaded the formulation of policies, including pushing cabinet to approve more funding for regional development authorities. He is also credited with initiating efforts to revive the multi-billion shillings Tana Delta rice scheme, and in 2007 launched the 3 billion shillings Kimira Oluch smallholder irrigation scheme in Rachuonyo and Homa Bay districts. He also led negotiations that saw commercialization of Wajir Airport, which had served as a military base. During his tenure as minister in 2007, Mahmoud is remembered for his tiff with the then head of civil service Francis Mudaura regarding appointment of parastatal chiefs. Mahmoud had called a press conference to address their differences in appointments, which was seen as a stunning departure from the norm for government communication. Later on in the 2007 general election, Mahmoud decided not to defend his seat as Wajir East MP and chose to serve as Party of National Unit PNU elections coordinator for Northern Kenya. After leaving cabinet, Mahmoud served as Kenya's ambassador to Saudi Arabia. He unsuccessfully vied for Wajir gubernatorial seat in 2013, but in 2017 he clinched the seat on a Jubilee ticket. Mahmoud is remembered for his efforts to transform the arid and semi-arid regions in health, water provisions, local and regional diplomacy. For the cabinet, I'm Ben Troy Njuri.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023. It is now easier to report and surrender. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started. Beat the November 1st deadline. It is your turn to surrender and report qualifying unclaimed financial assets. Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu abariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani I'm just happy.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aligojeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Welcome back. My name is Wairi Mujenga with the business news tonight. I know Tom had earlier on said I'm doing sports, but that was because he was watching the match between Kenya and Russia. But I'm here to do business. Now, let's kick it off. The National Assembly will fast-track the debate on the Konza Technopolis Bill, which was okayed by the Cabinet last week. The bill seeks to upgrade the legal framework governing Konza Technopolis and the Konza Technopolis Development Authority to an Act of Parliament. The chair of the Communication, Information and Innovation Committee of the National Assembly, John Kiari, says the bill will be tabled in Parliament next week.
The Konza Technopolis has operated under a legal notice which was enacted in 2012. Experts have argued that the lack of clear legal mandate has hindered the growth of the industry in the country. An act of parliament will give Konza Technopolis a formal legal status, giving it power to undertake similar smart city projects around the country.
We are privileged to have hosted the Committee of Communication, Information and Innovation, the Committee of Parliament that deals squarely with our project, that is the Konza Technopolis. And we've taken them through the project based on the progress that we've made over the years. We were able to highlight also the challenges, issues to do with project financing.
is one of the flagship projects envisioned in Vision 2030, and it has also gotten new impetus because it becomes also a flagship project of the Kenya Kwanza plan. It's a massive, massive investment that has already gone into this project, and we can say that there is a good development on the utilities side, common areas, the roads, lighting, water, electricity, fiber cabling, making it a ready site.
The Kwanza Technopolis bill received a major boost last week when the cabinet sitting in Kisumu deliberated and approved the bill for onward transmission to the National Assembly. The cabinet said the bill will provide a more predictable framework for the advancement of science, technology, and innovation through technological hubs. The chair of the Communications Committee of the National Assembly, John Kerry, says the committee also promised to push for the allocation of resources to enable the Kwanza Technopolis Development Authority to settle its pending bills. Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Kenyans are being urged to diversify their diets and adopt modern farming methods to achieve food security. As Kenya joins the world in celebrating World Food Day, experts say to build resilience against food scarcity, farmers ought to be empowered to improve the quality of food they produce.
In April 2023, the government began development of the country's first food security master plan as the country seeks to increase output and cut on wastage amid periodic droughts. The plan will largely focus on irrigated agriculture and other modern farming techniques, which experts agree will help feed the nation.
To build resilience among farmers, we need to ensure that they're able to produce food that can feed the population both here in Kenya and many of the other places.
What we are saying is that whatever small space you have, you could convert it to a food producing space. And that's what we are working with groups in urban poor settings. We work with women groups, we work with youth groups, and we are supporting them. We are building their capacity.
Players in the food system's value chain want more collaborations and support in reducing food scarcity and improving nutrition.
The government ukisikia wanasema ni bottom up. This bottom up initiative tunaomba ikuje pia hapa ground, like for the funds we want to be able to access easy loans.
Urban farmers like Greg Kimani say urban cities are embracing urban farms to increase access to a variety of foods.
So we've been having disruptions now and then in our food systems, and people are now getting concerned about how their food is being produced, where it is being produced from, what chemicals are being used. People want to understand these things, so there's a good uptake, and people are now embracing urban food production.
Due to poor storage systems, the country incurs post-harvest losses of up to 40% annually of the entire food that is produced, contributing to the reduction of available stocks for consumption. However, strides are being made.
I think we've seen a commendable amount of efforts. However, I would like to say that we need to improve in terms of especially anticipatory action. What that means is how do we prepare to be more resilient?
Biggest food security threats currently in the country are brought about by climate change, a growing population, and increased land subdivision.
Even as we build food resilience in the country, remember, 50% of Kenyans still don't eat nutritious food. Alan Auko, Prime Edition.
Engineers have been urged to prioritize and increase innovation in post-harvest technology to ensure food sustainability. Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya Chair Engineer Patrick Wambulwa says application of such technology will maintain quality, increase food safety, as well as reduce losses between harvest and consumption.
Farmers lose up to 40% of produce before it reaches the market due to challenges ranging from improper use of inputs to lack of proper post-harvest storage, processing, or transportation facilities.
The issue of food storage has two major interventions. After the food is harvested, we need to have perishables, we need to have coolers so that you can conserve them. If they are dry grains, you need to have a way to conserve them so that they are not infested by pests. But equally, we need transportation means. So we need improved roads so that these goods can reach factories, or they can reach markets faster.
As such, engineers have been urged to increase innovation targeting the food value chain.
And also, we need also technology in the areas of energy, because energy is so important for production, because it has become quite expensive to have power today. We need a cheaper source of energy.
Stakeholders attending the second Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya conference further called for engineering extension services to boost production, especially among smallholder farmers.
What innovative engineering solutions can we develop to increase agricultural productivity? How can we use technology to make food systems more efficient and sustainable?
ASEC Chair Engineer Patrick Wambulwa urged farmers to join the cooperative movement in order to benefit from economies of scale while purchasing innovative technology.
Post-harvest losses are posing a threat to Kenya's food security, and as such, a clarion call to engineers to innovate more within the food systems. I'm Regina Manyara reporting from Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County for Prime Edition.
Now, the establishment of the county aggregation and industrial parks, as well as setting up of 5 new special economic zones, coupled with harmonization of standards, are expected to drive up the contribution of the manufacturing sector to the gross domestic product. Now, Industry Principal Secretary Dr. Juma Muhwana says high cost of production, a weaker shilling and global competitiveness are among the factors that slowed the manufacturing sector in 2022.
The manufacturing sector contributed about 7% of the GDP due to, among others, high competition from imports.
Global competitiveness, also regional competition. We now have quite a bit of manufacturing going on in the region. As you know, initially Kenya was the main player in manufacturing. Now we have quite a bit of manufacturing within our neighbors in Uganda, in Tanzania.
Dr. Muhwana says the government has put in place strategies to double the contribution of the manufacturing sector by the year 2030. Among the strategies is the establishment of the county aggregation and industrial parks, setting up of 5 new special economic zones in Sagana, Thika, Kericho, Eldoret and Busia.
This is where the big boys are. The people who want to manufacture for the region will come in, and we are targeting a number of value chains. So we see that with those kind of initiatives, we should be able to take our manufacturing back to 10% of the GDP by 2025 and take it to about 15% by 2027.
Even though the Kenya Bureau of Standards has over 9,000 standards, only 10% are in use, yet over 3,000 goods don't have standards.
We need to embrace ourselves and revive and revitalize the usage of the international standards.
So as we develop standards at Kenya Bureau of Standards, we normally ensure that we are benchmarking with international standards so that we can be able to facilitate trade.
We've also come across different products in the market. For example, if you talk about cement, that sometimes we have 2 standards for 33%, 42%, but we have cement that is 72% that may not be covered. So I think it's a good time to reflect for the council to go back and ask ourselves, if only 10% of our standards are being used, what is the problem with the other 90%?
He says to fully reap the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area, countries should embrace mutual recognition of standards to boost cross-border trade and economic integration.
When we signed the AfTA agreement, Kenya made its first sale to Ghana of tea. The tea from Kenya to India and China takes about a week. To Europe, about 10 days. Our first sale to Ghana took us 4 months for the tea to move from Kenya to Ghana. That is what we are talking about.
Now, last but not least, Kenya plans to increase earnings from tourism to 1 trillion shillings in 5 years' time. Now, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua says this will be achieved through aggressive marketing, product diversification, and redevelopment of niche products. The Tourism Secretary spoke during a meeting with various tourism stakeholders in the country at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
According to the Tourism Research Institute, earnings from the sector are expected to jump to 425 billion shillings this year before increasing to 540 billion shillings by 2027. The sector is expected to become the top source of forex in Kenya in 5 years' time, according to Tourism Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua. Mutua says the sector is expected to recover fully to pre-COVID levels by December this year, where arrivals will hit the 2 million mark.
Is to think about where are we today? How much money are we generating for our country? We used to be the number 1 foreign exchange earner. Now we are number 4. How did we get from number 1 to number 4? What went wrong? Where? Wanyama ni wale.
The CS who chaired a meeting with industry stakeholders says this will be achieved through aggressive marketing, product diversification, and redevelopment of niche products.
To date, we are at 1.4 million tourists. They are super excited. 1.4 million and they're excited. You should be talking to me about 10.4 by now. We gave a ceiling of 2 million that we've never hit. It's 2 million, Africa 2 million. My program, and this is what we want to achieve as Kenya Kwanza, is to get these numbers to over 10 million tourists coming to this country within the next few years.
The government had earlier announced various strategies which were aimed at boosting tourism in the country, including improving domestic tourism and value addition by sector players, as well as improved marketing strategies of the country's exotic culture. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
That's all we had lined up for you, but do not go anywhere. Bernard Okumu is on the other end of the studio with today's sports. And my name is Weri Mujenga. Have a good night.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasabi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aligojeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Kama ndio. Hata wewe unajeka mbele. Mimi sielewi una wasiwasi wa nini. I mean, I'm very sure mmejipanga sawa.
Kwani ni nini na nyinyi? Mbona mnaingia room ya madem?
Sisi ni maafisa wa polisi.
So?
Leo faza. Uko chini ya ulinzi na unahitajika kuandamana nasi hadi kituoni.
Kwa nimefanya nini sasa?
Boss.
Nafsi yako itakuwa jibu na hilo walijua. Wewe toka nenda zako bwana. Toka. Haya ndio unafanya nini? Uniue tena? Ama nikuue mimi? Tuje tuwe sote huku. Naonekana leo huna story. Wewe mpumbavu, usicheze na mtu.
Yes, indeed, and thank you so much for joining us on KBC Channel 1 Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu, and let's begin with the friendly between Kenya and Russia, where the national soccer team Harambee Stars drew 2-2 with Russia in an international friendly match played today in Antalya, Turkey. Alexander Sobolev gave Russia the lead in the 10th minute, but Stars pulled level in the 16th minute through Teddy Akumu. Now Kenya went ahead 9 minutes to the breather through Masoud Juma's strike. Russia equalized with 5 minutes to go after Ivan Obliakov capitalized on a defensive mix-up to slot home the second. Kenya used the friendly match to prepare for the forthcoming 2026 CAF World Cup qualifier set to begin in November. Kenya will begin her quest against Gabon on 13th of next month before facing Ivory Coast, Seychelles and Burundi in Group F.
Kushoto wanaingia mzima Warusi, pasi inapigwa namna gani, wanakomboa hapa, funga goli la pili hapa Warusi. Tachi za haraka inakuwa ni 2-2, inakuwa ni magoli 2-2 hapa manake.
And that's the encounter that just did end minutes ago, where Kenya did a draw 2-2 with Russia. That's in the international friendly played in Turkey. To other soccer news, where the Kenya women's under-20 national soccer team Rising Starlets jetted back to the country from Angola last night after winning their second leg qualifier against the hosts. Now the Beldine Odemba Chargers sailed through on a 10-1 goal aggregate after winning this first leg encounter 6-1 in Nairobi a week ago, before beating their hosts 4-1 in the return leg played last night that's in Luanda. Now following the win, the Harambee Starlets, Rising Starlets rather, will face Cameroon in the third round of the qualifiers. Remember, the winner will get the slot to go to the Under-20 Women's World Cup, which will be held in Colombia in 2024. Now, the team was received by former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, who gifted them 200,000 cash token.
Wameenda kwa kuwakilisha Kenya, na we are very proud vile wameweza kufunga Angola mabao 10-1. Kwa hivyo we are wishing them all the best, we will support them, na serikali pia itawasupport tuhakikishe kuwa wanaleta World Cup hapa Kenya.
So 25 elite soccer coaches have embarked on their CAF A coaching course journey today. Now the coaching course represents the second highest level of certification offered by the Confederation of African Football, CAF, with the prestigious CAF Pro license standing as the highest attainable certification on the continent.
Among the coaches who are part of the course are Harambee Starlets coach Beldine Odemba, Ulinzi Stars coach Anthony Kimani, Assistant Posta Rangers coach Bernard Kawinzi, CAF instructor Jacqueline Juma, among others. The course is part of FKF initiative to ensure that there are more qualified coaches handling teams from grassroots to professional level. What makes this occasion even more significant is that this marks the first CAF licensing course to be offered since the current administration assumed office.
They're here today, and it's encouraging because at times you can train but people fall out. But this is a class that started in 2016 after elections, and they're here today, which means there's interest, there's consistency, and there's something good happening with the football.
This coaching pathway comes full circle for these coaches as they all began their journey together at the CAF D level. FKF partnership with KFOA has played a key role in ensuring the elevation of football in the country through combined efforts and shared vision. The course is under the tutelage of coaches Salim Ali and Francis Kimanzi and will run for 6 months.
And Bandari Swimming Club emerged as the winners of the Mombasa County Swimming Championship Mixed Levels Open Master Short Course and Relays Championship, which took place at Aga Khan Academy. Now over 200 swimmers took part in the championship.
Bandari amassed a total of 164 medals, 81 gold, 53 silver and 30 bronze medals, followed by Mombasa Aquatic Club, who bagged 87 medals, 55 gold, 20 silver and 12 bronze medals. Aga Khan Academy completed the podium dash with 28 medals, 18 gold, 8 silver and 2 bronze medals.
I'm happy I got a new personal best of 30.97. In the 100 back, I reduced my time to a 121. Which I'm really happy about.
My experience so far has been very good in my past events. I've reduced all of my times, and the event I'm most proud of is probably my 50 breast, because I reduced 1 second, and that's really a big accomplishment for me.
I really enjoyed doing 50 Mr. Freestyle, where I got myself a new PB, and 200 IM, which I really found challenging, and beat my friends, which I was really looking forward to and tried for a long time. I look forward to the future of swimming, and yeah.
National team swimmer Maria Biachi proved her superiority, winning the 1500-meter freestyle and 50 meters backstroke categories for girls over 16 years. Coast Amateur Swimming Association executive member Sahil Harunani noted that the association is preparing for the November County Swimming Championship and for the International Championships set to be held in Mauritius in December this year.
We definitely hope and for sure know that the coaches are giving their level best on providing them with the best possible training, and we hope that they can possibly make the finals and hopefully make a podium finish as well and make our nation proud.
And South Africa kept their title defense alive with a 29-28 thrilling quarter-final victory over France in one of the entertaining matches in World Cup history. Meanwhile, England cruised to a 30-24 win against Fiji to make it to the semi-finals. Even 8bet's a powerful late surge saw the Springboks come from behind to end France's 18-game winning run on home soil and book a semi-final with England in a repeat of the 2019 final. Both sides scored 3 tries in a pulsating first half at Stade de France before Thomas Ramos' penalty handed the hosts a narrow lead at the interval. Ramos added another 3 points as France, led by their returning talisman Antoine Dupont in their pursuit of a maiden title, looked to wrest some momentum from the defending champions in a more attritional second half. But Itzbet's try overturned the deficit before Henry Pollard's huge penalty from inside his own half proved to be decisive. Another Ramos penalty brought France to within a single point to set up a tense finale at the same venue that witnessed another last-8 thriller between New Zealand and Ireland just 24 hours earlier.
Has the try for South Africa!
Meanwhile, England led comfortably by 14 points with 15 minutes remaining before Fiji's Penny Ravai and Vilimoni Botito both crossed in a frantic 4 minutes to level the score 24-all. Farrell vindicated his selection as his drop goal made it 27-24 with 8 minutes remaining. Another Farrell penalty in the 78th minute gave England slightly more breathing room. Nerves were high when the fly-half's deliberate knock-on gave defiant Fiji a penalty with the clock in red, but England won the ball on the floor for a memorable victory. After Ireland and Wales lost on Saturday, England are the last home nation in the tournament and will now first hold the South Africa on Saturday. And to football now, where Scotland and Spain are through to the Euro 2024 following Spain's 1-0 win over Norway. Meanwhile, Portugal's position in the UEFA Euro was secured after a 3-2 win over Slovakia, with Cristiano Ronaldo netting a brace in the entertaining contest.
Wales, who would have been further ahead were it not for several fine saves by Croatian goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic.
And world number 4 Jessica Pegula claimed her second title of the season with victory over China's Yue Yuan in the Korea Open final held in Seoul. Pegula won 6-2, 6-3 in Sunday's final for her 4th career victory.
Who was seeded first after accepting a wildcard in Korea, became the first American since Venus Williams in 2007 to win the title. This was the first WTA final for the 128th ranked Yue, who had not reached a quarter-final before this week. Elsewhere, Canada's Leila Fernandez defeated the Czech Republic's world number 5 Katarina Siniakova to win the Hong Kong Open. Former US Open runner-up Fernandez claimed her first WTA title this season and the first since March 2022, coming from a set down to win sets of 3-6, 6-4 and 6-4. Fernandez, who entered the tournament ranked number 60, will return to the top 50 after the win.
Well, and on that tennis note is how we bring the curtains down on today's Sports on Channel 1 when Harambee Stars did draw 2-2 with Russia, only their second draw against a European team in the history of Kenyan football. Remember that KBC Channel 1 will also bring you the inaugural Africa Super League beginning on 20th of October. That's next week. That's it from me. I'm Bernard Okumu. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.
Well, that's all we had time for. I want to thank you for watching Prime Edition. We'll be back again tomorrow. My name is Mboya. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya. Bye-bye.
Holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023. It is now easier to report and surrender. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started. Beat the November 1st deadline. It is your turn to surrender and report qualifying unclaimed financial assets. Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu abariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasabi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aligojeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
My name is Mary Modhoni. I am the Principal Secretary for Public Health and Professional Standards. The government is committed to deliver universal health coverage through primary health care network, with a focus on preventive and promotive health. To achieve this, several systems have been put in place. We have conducted assessment of over 14,000 health facilities to establish the level of service